I went to Camp Mintahama as a child and didn't revisit camp again until I had Girl Scout troops, kids of my own. And so that was probably 10 years ago.
I have been part of Mintahama since 1959 when I went to camp for the first time.
I first went to Camp Mintahama, I think it was the summer after my 5th grade year of school, and I fell in love with it. I did that as a child. I went every year until I turned 17 and had to start working and getting ready to go to college. And then I started actually working at camp.
The first time I went to Camp Mintahama was in 2012 when I dropped my daughter off for day camp. Very nervous parent, dropping my daughter off for a day by herself with all of these campers and counselors that I didn't know. And she came back and told me she loved it. And then she went for 2 days, and I didn't think she would make it that long, and she made it that long and immediately told me she wanted to stay there all summer.
Some of my favorite activities at Camp Mintahama as a child would be the Brownie Olympics, just spending time out there with friends, with my Girl Scout troop.
We had a last night campfire, which was always a very special time when the girls would get to sing songs, and sometimes units would put on skits. We had swimming each day in the pool.
My favorite part of Camp Mintahama as an adult is taking my girls out there and seeing the camp through their eyes, because it's completely different than when I remember it as a child. And taking the girls out to Mintahama, I can see them experience nature and the quiet and still without cell phones, without Snapchat, all of those things. There's no Twitter except for tweet of real birds. And so to have them experience the feeling of nature and become invested in how we take care of it, have a sense of ownership in it, has just been an amazing experience.
Camp Mintahama was originally purchased in early 1946, and the girls got to camp at Mintahama that summer. Although they didn't have a lot of facilities to use, they did have the lodge, which they used for a dining hall, and they camped in tents on the main side of camp. They didn't have any of the units established yet.
At age 12, I went to the very first summer of camp at Camp Mintahama when it was brand new. The youngest girls were in tents down by the lodge, a very primitive tents. As I remember, we didn't have wooden floors. The second year I went to the Camp Mintahama, my mother sent me with a little box Kodak camera. We had a interesting staff. The oldest, most important person was Gray Squirrel. I have a wonderful picture of her. And right underneath it in my scrapbook, I say, in parentheses, she was nice sometimes.
My parents were very instrumental with the council for many years. Mother started working for the council when I was in the 7th grade, and she worked as a field director, which meant she visited all the communities that had Girl Scouting, and she would go to their neighborhood meetings each month. Then Daddy started when I was a freshman in high school, so it was about 1966 or so. And they both worked until 1990 when they retired. Daddy was executive director, which meant he did a lot of the bookkeeping and the fundraising, and actually he did a lot of the grunt work down at Girl Scout Camp too, building things, getting friends to build things with him.
I definitely remember sleeping up on the hill in a tent with a wooden floor, and at night, we always had the flaps open, and I remember distinctly the nighttime sounds. I still love the nighttime sounds when I get a chance to hear them. We don't get to hear them very much anymore.
most of the time my parents worked with the council, we had camp for 6 weeks. There were 3 2-week sessions. And then in the end, well, the last 4 or 5 years, we had a 1-week session called Adventures in Camping, and that was for the first-year campers, and they would only stay 1 week, and we would have a whole camp full of little girls. We'd have 4 units full of girls, 25 girls in a unit, plus a couple others. They spent a lot of time with the council, and it was very dear, and with the Girl Scout camp, it was very near to their hearts. And they still, when they both passed away, each time, well, when Mother died first and then Daddy, Girl Scouts came and sang at their funeral for me. And it didn't take but one phone call, and I had plenty of good singers there.
You can't go through a summer camp experience and not walk away a better person. I think the relationships that you build, both with people who are like you and people who are very much not like you, are so important to broadening who you are as a person.
In 2007, the Girl Scout Council realigned the organization, and it encompassed rural councils into a larger metropolitan council.
There were 5 councils in Missouri, and they were all made into one council. Then, not long after that, we found out our camp was in jeopardy because the council really couldn't afford all the properties. The new council couldn't afford all the properties that came with 5 different councils merged into one. During that time, from when the council first was merged, not very many improvements happened at Mintahama, where in the years before that there'd always been lots of upkeep, new activities added, new buildings added.
They made a shift in the activities that they were offering, and more of them were indoor activities, and they stepped away from outdoor activities a bit. When it became apparent that the camp was going to be possibly sold and was in jeopardy, then I became involved with the effort to try and save it. I am one of the founding members of the nonprofit organization Untitled Mintahama, and I am acting as the CEO for the nonprofit. My vision for Camp Mintahama is that it remains a camp that is untouched by electronics, by modern conveniences, gives kids, adults an opportunity to go out in nature, to get peace and quiet, to fulfill whatever needs that they have, for kids to get leadership skills, courage to face things that they haven't done before, friends that they will have for a lifetime, and a feeling of investment in the earth and our role to take care of it.
It would be heartbreaking to lose such a beautiful place, a naturally beautiful place.
What we need right now and in the future will be some grassroots donations and some volunteers to help do things down at Mintahama to get it back in shape. Just giving from the heart. It can be any kind of donation. It doesn't have to be a large amount. Give what you can. every little bit helps. Even troops will sometimes give us some money to help with us to get Mintahama going again so they can come back to camp and camp there, back to Mintahama to camp. This is really a heartfelt thing that everybody, we have lots of friends that have been Mintahama campers for years and years, and if the camp can date back to 1946, then we need to keep it going for another 100 years.
I would like the camp to be used to its full capacity, which is not just girls, but everyone in the community. Boys, girls, adults, families, anyone who wants to use it.
I want Camp Mintahama to be open to families for family reunions.
My vision for Camp Mintahama is to have a great place for young men and young women to go experience the outdoors, for families, church groups, various people who want to go out and use the facilities, connect with nature, to have that opportunity. More and more we're seeing that those spaces and places aren't available, and I think with Camp Mintahama that would be a great place for people to get out and find those wonderful experiences.
It's a wonderful opportunity to grow, to learn, and to have wonderful memories.